Find a comfortable position now, whether you're lying down or curled up somewhere warm. Let your body settle into the surface beneath you and allow your eyes to gently close. Take a slow breath in and let it go. In and out. There's nowhere you need to be right now. Nothing you need to do. This moment belongs only to you. Let your shoulders soften. Feel the weight of the day beginning to lift from your jaw, from your hands, from the space behind your eyes. With each breath, you're drifting a little further from the noise of the world. Breathe in and breathe out. Imagine for a moment that the sky above you is deep and dark and full of stars. Ancient stars, older than any map or name, quietly watching over a world that has been turning for 10,000 years. You are safe here. You are held. And tonight, you are invited to travel. Welcome to Moonlit Dynasty, a collection of ancient stories from the heart of China. Tales of gods and heroes, of love and sacrifice, of the endless turning of the seasons. Stories that have been whispered for generations, carried by the wind across mountains and rivers, from the mouths of grandmothers to the ears of sleeping children. If these stories carry you gently to sleep, a subscription means the world to us and ensures the next story finds its way to you. Tonight, let one of those stories find you. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the old world carry you gently into the dark and into sleep. The sea had climbed out of itself and walked to the gates of Chen Tang Pass. That was how the people of the city would remember it, years later, when they were old, and the story had softened into legend. They would say the 4 dragon kings came on foot like ordinary travelers, but the air around them smelled of brine and storm, and the stones beneath their feet were wet, though no rain had fallen. They would say the moon dimmed when the dragon kings spoke, as though it too wished not to hear. But this was not yet years later. This was the hour itself, the long-held breath of a night that refused to end. Nezha stood barefoot on the cold flagstones beyond the gate. He was a small figure in the wide dark, a child by any reasonable measure, though no one who looked at him that night thought of him as a child. His hair was tied up in 2 small knots. A length of red silk drifted at his shoulder, lifting and falling with a wind no one else could feel. His hands hung loose at his sides. His face was untroubled. Behind him, high on the wall of the pass, his father Li Jing watched. Li Jing was a general, and a general's face is a trained thing, a discipline learned over decades. But tonight, that discipline was failing him in small, terrible ways. A muscle moved at the hinge of his jaw. His fingers, which had once held the boy as an infant, gripped the stone of the parapet until the skin around his nails went white. The 4 dragon kings approached. Ao Guang of the Eastern Sea walked at the front. He was tall and pale, and his robes were the green-black of deep water. His brothers came behind him. Ao Xin of the south in robes of red coral, Ao Run of the west in robes of pale jade, Ao Shun of the north in robes of dark salt. They moved without hurry. They had come for something, and they knew it would not be denied them. Ao Guang stopped 7 paces from the boy. For a long moment, no one spoke. The city above held its breath. Even the wind paused as if listening. "You know why we are here," the Dragon King said at last. His voice was low and even, the voice of a man who has rehearsed his grief into something colder. "I know," Nezha said. "My son is dead, killed by your hand. Yes, the heavens will not act, the mortal courts will not act. So we come, the four of us, to act ourselves." Nezha tilted his head a little, the way a child tilts his head when listening to a story. He did not look afraid. He did not look defiant either. He simply looked, the way still water looks when nothing has yet been thrown into it. "What do you want?" he asked. Ao Guang's eyes narrowed. He had expected pleading or anger or the bright, fragile bravery of a boy who does not yet understand what is being asked. He had not expected this. "We want this pass," he said. "We want the surrender of the general who fathered you. And we want your life." Far above, on the wall, Li Jing made a small sound. It was not a word. It was the sound a man makes when something inside him cracks and he does not yet know which part. Nezha did not turn to look at his father. He kept his eyes on the Dragon King. "That is 3 things," he said quietly. "Let us speak of them one at a time." And the night, which had been pressing down on the city like a great dark hand, seemed to settle a little. Not in relief, but in attention. As though even the sky had decided to listen to what the boy would say next. "Dwai, speak then," said Ao Guang. His voice did not rise. It did not need to. The sea was inside it, and the sea is patient when it wishes to be. Nezha drew a small breath, the way a person does before lifting something heavy with care. "The pass," he said. "It belongs to the Emperor, not to my father, and not to me. My father guards it because he was given the duty. If you take the pass, you do not take it from him. You take it from a man who has never met you, who sits in a palace far from here. He will send another general, and another. The pass will not be yours. It will only be a wound that never closes." Ao Qin, the red-robed brother, shifted his weight. He had not expected the boy to reason like a magistrate. "My father's surrender," Nezha continued, his voice still soft. "He has done nothing. He did not strike your son. He did not know I had gone to the sea that day. To take him is to take a man for another's act. Even the heavens do not permit that, not when there is another hand to take instead." "And your life?" said Ao Run of the West quietly. Nezha looked at him. "My life," he said, "is the one thing on this list that is mine to give." The silence that followed was not the silence of agreement. It was the silence of 4 kings recalculating, 4 ancient minds bending around a small voice that had spoken to them as though they were neighbors quarreling over a fence. Ao Shun of the North, who had not yet spoken, finally did. His voice was the coldest of them all, the voice of black ice on a winter lake. "You offer yourself." "I offer myself," Nezha said. "Leave the pass. Leave my father at his post. Leave my mother in her rooms. Leave this city to its sleep, and I will give you what you came for. All of it, without struggle, without trick. You are very young," said Ao Guang slowly, "to bargain so." "I am old enough to have done what I did," Nezha said. "I am old enough to answer for it." Above, on the wall, Li Jing's knees almost gave way. He caught himself on the stone. He did not call out. He could not. His mouth had opened, and no sound had come. and he understood for the first time in his life that there were things a general's voice could not do. Lady Yin had come up behind him without his hearing her. She did not speak either. She only put her hand against his back, between his shoulder blades, where her hand had rested 1,000 times before in the small, private dark of their chambers. She did not weep yet. The weeping would come later. For now she only held her husband upright with the flat of one small hand, because she knew, as wives know, that he would otherwise fall. Below, the 4 dragon kings drew together. They did not speak aloud. They did not need to. They had been brothers for 10,000 years, and their thoughts moved between them like fish moving in a single school. The deliberation took a long time, and it took no time at all. Time, on a night like this, did not behave the way it usually did. At last, Ao Guang turned back to the boy. "You understand," he said, "that we will require proof. We will require..." He paused, searching for a word that would not shame the night. "That the debt be paid in full, in flesh, in bone." "I understand," said Nezha. "Then we accept your terms." The wind moved again. The red silk at Nezha's shoulder lifted, drifted, settled, and high on the wall, Li Jing closed his eyes, because he could not bear any longer to keep them open. Li Jing came down from the wall. He did not remember the steps. There were many of them. The long stone staircase that wound from the parapet to the gatehouse, the inner courtyard, the open ground beyond the gate. And he descended them all without knowing that he did. His feet carried him. His mind had gone somewhere quieter, somewhere it did not have to watch what was about to happen. Lady Yin came down behind him. She did not try to stop him. She knew her husband. She knew that if he did not go to his son now, he would carry the not going for the rest of his life, and it would hollow him. When Li Jing stepped through the gate, the 4 dragon kings turned to look at him. They did not move to bar his way. They were, in their own ancient fashion, observing a courtesy. A father was permitted to come to his son, even on a night like this. Li Jing walked across the cold flagstones. He was a tall man, broad through the shoulders. Armored even now in the lacquered plates he had not had time to remove. He looked, in the moonlight, like a statue that had been carved to stand at a tomb. He stopped a few paces from Nezha. He opened his mouth. He closed it again. There were so many things he had never said. He had never told the boy that he was proud of him. Not properly, not in words the boy could carry. He had corrected him, instructed him, scolded him, warned him. He had loved him in the way a general loves, by sharpening him, by demanding more of him, by refusing to let him be soft in a world that would not be soft in return. He had thought there would be time later, when the boy was older, when there was less to fear, less to teach. He had thought love could wait. He understood now that love had never been waiting. He had been. "Nezha," he said. His voice was rough. "Let me..." He took a step forward. He did not know what he meant to do. Take the boy's place, perhaps. Argue with the kings. Lift his son into his arms, the way he had not done since the boy was very small, and carry him back inside the gate, and bar the door against the sea. Nezha looked at him. It was only a look, a child's look, but there was something in it that stopped Li Jing where he stood, the way a hand on the chest will stop a horse mid-stride. The boy was not asking him to stay back. He was not pleading. He was simply looking at his father with a clarity so complete that Li Jing felt himself, for the first time in his life, fully seen by his own son. The look said, "Do not take this from me. This is mine." The look said, "I am not afraid. Do not be afraid for me. Do not make my last act be the comforting of you." The look said more quietly, "I love you. I have always loved you. There is nothing to forgive." Li Jing stopped. He stood very still. He felt his hands at his sides, beginning to shake, and he pressed them flat against his thighs to still them. He could not take his eyes from his son's face. He was trying, in this last available moment, to memorize it. Nezha turned a little, so that he stood between his father and the Dragon Kings. He looked up at Li Jing. "You gave me this flesh," he said, "and these bones. I return them now. That is all." It was said quietly, without anger, without sorrow. The way a person sets down a borrowed cup on the table at the end of a long evening, with thanks. Li Jing made a sound that was not a word. It was the sound a stone makes when it cracks down its center after 1,000 winters of frost. Lady Yin, behind him, sank slowly to her knees on the flagstones. She did not cry out. She only knelt and pressed both her hands against her mouth, as though she were holding something inside it that, if let out, would never stop. There are moments in a life when the world becomes very small. Everything that is not essential falls away, the way scaffolding falls away from a finished bell. What remains is only what matters, ringing clearly in the dark. This was such a moment. The Dragon Kings stood at a respectful distance. They had drawn back without seeming to, the way the tide draws back before it returns. They would witness what was to come. They would not crowd it. Nezha turned back to face them. Then he looked again at his mother, kneeling on the flagstones, and his face changed, not with grief, but with a tenderness so quiet that Lady Yin felt it on her skin, like the touch of a sleeve. "Mother," he said. Lady Yin lifted her face. She had been a beautiful woman in her youth, and she was still beautiful now, in the worn and luminous way of a woman who has carried much and complained little. Her eyes were full of tears that had not yet fallen. She did not wipe them. She wanted to see her son clearly. "I am here," she said. Her voice was steady. It surprised her that it could be steady. She thought, "I will be steady for him. I will give him that. If I can give him nothing else, I will give him a mother who did not break in front of him." "You carried me for 3 years and 6 months, Nezha said. "You sang to me when I would not sleep. You brought me into the world when the world did not want me. I have not thanked you. I thank you now." "You do not need to thank me," Lady Yin said. "You are my son." "I am your son," Nezha agreed. "That is why I thank you." He turned to his father. Li Jing had not moved. He was still standing exactly where he had stopped, his hands flat against his thighs. He looked at his son. He tried to speak. The words would not come. He had spent a lifetime training his voice to give orders. And now, when he needed it to give something else, it had forgotten how. Nezha seemed to understand. He stepped forward, just one small step, and looked up into his father's face. "Father," he said, "you do not have to say anything. I know." Li Jing made a sound. It was very small. It might have been a word, or part of a word, or the beginning of a word that he could not finish. Nezha lifted one small hand and pressed it briefly to the cold lacquered plate over his father's heart. "I know," he said again. Then he stepped back. He walked out into the open space between his parents and the four kings. He stood there alone, a slight figure in the wide stone court, the red silk at his shoulder lifting in a wind only he could feel. He did not look back at his mother. He did not look back at his father. He had said what he needed to say, and to look back now would only make it harder for those who had to remain. He raised his eyes to the night sky. There were stars there, faint behind the haze of the salt air, the old patient stars that had watched many things and would watch many more. He looked at them for a moment, the way a traveler looks at a road he is about to begin walking. Then he lowered his gaze and faced the Dragon Kings. "I am ready," he said. Ao Guang inclined his head slowly. There was no triumph in his face. There was something else, something almost like grief, though he would not have given it that name. He had come to take a child's life. He had not expected the child to give it like this. It was harder, somehow, than if the boy had struggled. "Then begin," he said. And Nezha, very calmly, lifted his small hands to the silk at his throat. What followed should not be told as violence, because it was not violence. It was a ceremony. In the old stories, when they are told, well, this moment is not a death, it is a returning. The Chinese have a phrase for it. Shui rou huanmu, ti gu huanfu, to par the flesh and return it to the mother, to separate the bones and return them to the father. The phrase is older than the story. It comes from a time when people understood that the body is a gift loaned out, not a possession owned, and that to give it back is not to lose it, but to balance an old account. Nezha understood this. He had always understood it, in some part of himself older than his years. He loosened the silk at his throat. He set it aside, carefully, on a clean stone. The silk would matter later. He wanted it to be ready. Then he closed his eyes, just for a moment, the way a person closes their eyes before stepping out into a snowfall, to ready themselves for the cold and beauty of it. When he opened them again, he spoke. He spoke softly, so that only those closest could hear. And what he said was not loud enough to carry to the city above. It was meant for two people only. "Mother," he said, "this flesh I return to you. You shaped it inside yourself. You fed it from your body. It was never mine. It was only ever borrowed. I give it back with thanks." He drew his small hand across his own arm. There was a gesture, a movement, that the old paintings show but never quite explain. In some tellings, he carries a sword. In others, only his will. What is consistent is this. The act was clean. It was without struggle. It was the way a flower lets fall its petals when the season has turned. Not torn from itself, but released. The flesh fell from him in a slow, soft cascade. And where it fell, it became something else. It became a soft, red drift on the stones, like the falling petals of a great peach tree in a wind. Lady Yin, watching, did not cry out. She had promised herself she would not. She only pressed her hands harder against her mouth and let the tears come down her face in silence, the way rain comes down a window pane. The flesh settled. The stones beneath Nezha grew warm with it. The sea wind, which had been cold, became briefly fragrant. The smell of warm rice, the smell of a mother's hair, the smell of a small body held against a shoulder after a bath. It was Lady Yin's own scent, returning to her through her son. She understood then what was being done. It was not a wound. It was a gift she was being given back. Everything she had given him, every bowl of soup, every night of nursing, every fever broken with a cool cloth at 3 a.m, he was returning to her, intact, with thanks. She lowered her hands from her mouth. "My son," she whispered. "Oh, my son." Nezha smiled at her. It was a small smile, and a tired one, but it was a real smile, and she would carry it with her for the rest of her long life. "Do not weep too long, mother," he said quietly. "I am not gone." What stood now in the courtyard was less a body than the bright skeleton of a body. A small figure of bones, still upright, still calm, the spirit still inside it, watching from its quiet seat. The red silk lay on its clean stone, waiting. Lady Yin reached out very slowly and touched the soft red drift on the flagstones before her. It was warm. It was hers. She drew it gently to herself, the way she had once drawn her infant son to her breast, and she held it and rocked and said no word. The Dragon Kings watched without moving. Even they, who had come for this, were quieted by it. They had expected the closing of a debt. They had not expected to witness a rite. Now, Nezha turned to his father. Li Jing had not moved. He stood as he had stood, hands pressed flat against his thighs, face turned toward his son. There were tears on his face. He had not noticed them. They had come without his permission, the way a leak appears in an old roof, quietly, in the night, while the house is sleeping. "Father?" Nezha said. Li Jing's mouth moved. No sound came. "These bones," Nezha said, "are yours. You gave them to me. You taught me how to stand on them. You taught me how to walk, how to ride, how to draw a bow. Every bone in me you have shaped by what you gave me and by what you asked of me. I return them now." He paused. He looked at his father with a great gentleness. "I am not angry with you," he said. "I want you to know that. I was never angry. You loved me as you knew how. That was enough. That was always enough." Li Jing made the cracking sound again, low in his chest. He understood distantly that he was weeping. He had not wept since he was a boy himself. He had forgotten how the body did it. It surprised him, how much it hurt, and how much it did not hurt at all. How it was only a kind of release, like a held breath at last let go. Nezha closed his eyes. The bones came away from him as the flesh had, without violence, without sound. They settled to the flagstones in a clean white drift, the small bones of a small child, arranged almost neatly, as though by some unseen hand that respected what they were. The spirit that had inhabited them did not fall with them. It lifted. It lifted the way a kite lifts in a steady wind, not yanked, not snatched, but drawn up gently along its string until it rides above the world. Those who saw it would describe it differently in later years. Some said they saw a small, bright shape, no bigger than a sparrow, rising from where the boy had stood. Others said they saw only a brightness, a warmth, a sense that something kind had passed through the air above their heads on its way somewhere else. What is certain is this: Nezha did not die. He moved. The body was finished. The spirit was not. Li Jing dropped to his knees on the cold stones. He had not meant to. His legs had simply ceased to hold him. He crawled forward, a general of the empire crawling, and gathered the small white bones into his arms. They were warm. They were lighter than he had expected. He held them against his chest, the way he had held the infant Nezha 30 days after his birth, when the boy had first opened his eyes and looked at him. And Li Jing had felt, for one brief moment, that he understood what it was to be loved by someone who had not yet learned anything else. He pressed his face against the bones and made no sound at all. Lady Yin, still cradling the soft red gift in her own arms, looked across the small space between herself and her husband and saw him for what he was. Not a general, not a stern man, not the cold pillar she had sometimes thought him to be, but only a father, holding what was left of his son. She crossed the space on her knees. She knelt beside him. She did not touch him. She only knelt there, near enough that her sleeve brushed his, and waited. Above them, the 4 dragon kings stood in silence. The debt had been paid. They had received what they came for. They did not move to leave. They were not sure, in this moment, that they were permitted to. There was something happening here that was larger than them, and they were old enough, all 4 of them, to recognize the feeling and to be still inside it. The wind moved once across the courtyard. The red silk on its clean stone lifted gently and was still. The Dragon Kings left at the hour before dawn. They went the way they had come, on foot, walking back along the road toward the sea. They did not speak among themselves as they went. They had come full of purpose and grievance, and they were returning empty. Not empty of anger, that had been spent, but empty in a different way, the way a cup is empty after it has been drunk from. They had been filled with something they had not expected, and they did not yet have a name for it. And so they walked in silence and let the night carry them home. Behind them, the pass was very quiet. The city above had not slept. The whole population had been awake on their rooftops, on their balconies, behind their shuttered windows, watching the courtyard below. They had not been able to hear what was said. They had only been able to see, by the faint moonlight, the small figure of the boy, and the 4 tall figures of the kings, and the kneeling figures of the parents. They had understood, without being told, what had happened. Now, as the sky began to pale at the eastern horizon, they came down quietly from their roofs and shut their shutters and went indoors. They lit their morning fires. They said nothing to one another. The pass had been saved. Their lives had been spared. They did not feel saved. They felt as though someone they had not known well had died on their behalf, and they did not know how to thank the dead. In the courtyard, Li Jing rose. He had been kneeling for a long time. His knees were stiff. He did not feel them. He looked at his wife, who was still kneeling beside him, still holding the soft red gathering of what had been their son's flesh. And he spoke for the first time in many hours. "I will take him to the mountain," he said. His voice was low and even. The general's voice, almost. But there was something different inside it now. A softness at the edges, like a sword whose blade has been worn down by long use. Lady Yin nodded. She did not look up at him. She was still looking down at what she held. "I will tend to my part," she said quietly. He nodded once. He did not bend to kiss her. He did not touch her shoulder. He did not know how to do those things. Even now, he only stood for a long moment, looking down at her, as though committing the picture of her to memory. And then he turned and walked across the courtyard to the stables. He saddled a horse himself. He did not call for a groom. He wrapped the small white bones in a clean white cloth, very gently, and tied the bundle to his saddle. He led the horse out through the gate and turned its head toward the mountain that rose, blue and quiet, beyond the western edge of the city. He rode slowly. There was no need to hurry. He had the rest of his life to do this. And after that, he would have the rest of his death. The mountain road climbed gently at first, through pine forests, where the first pale light of dawn was beginning to filter down through the needles. Birds were waking. A small stream ran beside the road, talking quietly to itself over its stones. Li Jing did not notice these things in the front of his mind, but somewhere behind his thoughts they were being recorded. The pines, the stream, the cool morning air. And they would come back to him in years to come, unbidden, when he was old and sitting by a window, somewhere remembering his son. He climbed for half a day. When he reached the place he had chosen, a small clearing on the south side of the mountain, where the sun fell warm in the afternoon and a single old pine stood watch. He dismounted. He dug the grave with his own hands. He had a small spade in his saddlebag, but for the first part he used only his hands until the earth was opened. Then he used the spade. He dug it deeper than was necessary. He wanted his son to be held by the mountain, not merely covered by it. When the grave was ready, he laid the bundle of bones inside it, and he stood for a long time without moving. The wind in the pine above him made a sound like distant water. He did not pray. He did not know any prayers that would suit. He only stood and looked and tried to think of something to say. In the end, he said only, "I am sorry." It was not enough. He knew that, but it was what he had, and so he gave it. And then he covered the grave gently with earth and walked back down the mountain, leading his horse, and did not look back. Lady Yin did not go up to her chambers. When her husband had ridden away, she rose slowly from the flagstones, still cradling what she had been given, and walked through the inner gate of the pass toward the small private garden at the back of the household. It was the garden she had tended herself since her marriage. A small square of earth between two walls, with a stone bench and a low pool and a single old plum tree. She had loved it because it was hers, and because it was quiet, and because it was the only place in her husband's stern house where she had been permitted to plant anything purely for its beauty. She walked into the garden as the sun was just beginning to clear the eastern wall. The light came down warm onto the earth. The plum tree was not in flower. It was high summer, and its leaves were green and thick. A pair of small birds were arguing somewhere in its branches. They fell silent when she entered, then began again when they decided she was not a danger. She knelt by the pool. She set her burden down beside her, very gently, on a flat stone. Then she took up a small spade, the one she used for her bulbs in spring, and she began to dig. She dug at the edge of the pool, in the soft black earth she had built up over many years with leaves and ash and care. She did not dig deeply. She made a wide, shallow bed, the size of a sleeping infant. When the bed was ready, she lifted the soft red gathering from the stone and laid it gently inside, and folded the earth back over it with her own hands, smoothing it the way she had once smoothed the blanket over her son, when he had finally fallen asleep at the end of a long, fevered night. Then she went to the storeroom at the back of the house. She knew exactly what she was looking for. In a small clay jar, she kept lotus seeds, 3 of them, given to her by her own mother on the day of her wedding, with the instruction that she plant 1 for each child she was given. She had planted 1 when her first son was born. She had planted 1 when her second son was born. The third had been waiting all these years for Nezha. She had never planted it. She had told herself she would wait until Nezha was older, until he could plant it himself, until he was old enough to understand what it meant. She understood now that she had been wrong to wait. Love, she thought, should never be saved up for later. There is no later. There is only the day you are in. She took the seed back to the garden. She knelt again by the small bed she had made. She pressed the seed gently into the earth above her son's returned flesh, and she covered it, and she watered it, and she sat back on her heels and looked at the place for a long time. She did not weep again. She had finished weeping in the courtyard, or perhaps she had only paused. Either way, she was quiet now. She felt oddly peaceful, not happy, not unhurt, but peaceful, the way a room is peaceful when something has finally been set down that was too heavy to keep carrying. When Li Jing returned that evening, she was still in the garden. He came and stood at the gateway and looked at her. She looked back at him. Neither of them spoke. After a moment, he turned and went into the house. He went to his study. He did not light a lamp. He sat at his desk in the gathering dark, and he stayed there, very still, until the night was full. That night, neither of them said the other's name. Not the next day either, nor the day after that. It was not that they were angry. They were not. It was something else, something they could not have explained even to themselves. To say the other's name would have been to begin a conversation, and the conversation they would have had to have was one neither of them was ready for. So they let the silence stand and moved around each other through the rooms of the house with great gentleness, like 2 people moving around a sleeping child whom they did not wish to wake. On the 3rd day, at dusk, Li Jing came into the garden. Lady Yin was sitting on the stone bench by the pool, watching the place where she had planted the seed. He sat down beside her. He did not touch her. He sat at a careful distance, the way he had always sat beside her, the way he had been raised to sit beside a wife, with respect, with formality, with a foot of clean air between them. Then, after a long while, he reached across the foot of clean air and took her hand. She did not look at him. She did not need to. She turned her hand in his so that their palms met, and she closed her fingers around his fingers, and they sat that way until the last light went out of the sky. "Yin," he said at last. It was the first word either of them had spoken in 3 days. "I know," she said. They sat in the dark together, holding hands for a long time. While his parents grieved below, Nezha's spirit was learning how to travel. It was a strange education, and a gentle one. He had no body to slow him. He had no weight. He could be in one place, and then, if he turned his attention, he could be in another. At first he did not understand how it worked. Then he understood that there was nothing to understand. He simply went where his attention went, the way smoke goes where the wind goes, the way a thought goes where the mind goes. He drifted at first, near the pass. He hovered above the courtyard, where his bones had fallen. The stones had been swept clean. There was no trace of what had happened. He looked at the swept stones and felt no sorrow about them. They were only stones. Whatever had been important about the night had not stayed in the stones. It had gone elsewhere, and he was elsewhere with it. He drifted up the mountain road. He followed the path his father had taken, days ago now, though time was a strange thing in his new condition. Sometimes it stretched, sometimes it compressed, sometimes it seemed not to exist at all. He found the clearing on the south side of the mountain. He found the small grave under the old pine. He stood beside it. Stood was not quite the right word, but it was the closest one, and looked down at the disturbed earth. He was not in there. He knew that. The bones were in there, but he was not the bones. He had never been the bones. The bones had only been the place where he stayed for a while. He looked at the grave the way a traveler might look at an inn where he had spent a few comfortable nights, with affection, with thanks, but without any wish to return. The pine above the grave made its quiet sound. He liked the sound. He stayed beside it for a long time, listening. Then he drifted higher, up to the old training ground, where his master Taiyi Genren had taught him the early forms. The ground was overgrown now. No one had been there since his last lesson. A small wild rabbit was sitting in the middle of the cleared circle, washing its face with its paws. Nezha watched the rabbit. The rabbit did not see him, of course, but at one point it paused in its washing and looked up directly at the place where Nezha hovered and twitched its ears, as though it had heard something interesting. Then it went back to washing. He smiled, in whatever way a spirit smiles, and moved on. He drifted across the sky toward the city. He did not enter his father's house through the door. He simply was, suddenly, in his mother's garden. She was kneeling by the pool. She was patting the earth gently with the flat of her hand, the way one might pat the back of a sleeping child. The seed had not yet broken the surface, but she was tending to it as though it had. He watched her for a long while. He wanted to say something to her, but he understood that she could not have heard him, and that it was perhaps better, for now, that she could not. She was doing well. She would do well. He did not want to interrupt her. He drifted upward, away from the garden, into the high, pale air above the mountains. It was beautiful up there. The world was very small below him. The river that wound past the pass was a thin silver thread. The pass itself was a small square of stone. The mountain where his bones rested was a green hill. He could see the curve of the world at the edges. He could see the sea far away to the east, where the dragon kings had gone home. He felt no anger at the sea. He felt no anger at all. Anger required a body, and he no longer had one. So he drifted, light as smoke. He had seen his mother in her garden, at peace. He had seen his father carrying stones one after another. the way a man carries the weight of what he could not prevent. He had seen the river return to its banks. He had seen the village children playing again at the water's edge, their laughter thin and high, the way laughter sounds when heard from very far away. He had seen enough of the world below. The clouds moved through him without resistance. He moved through them. There was no hunger here, no thirst, no skin to be cold or warm. He had been a boy who was always moving, always running, always leaping toward something. Now stillness was the only thing left, and stillness, he discovered, was not empty. It held everything gently, the way water holds a leaf. A bird passed beneath him, a small brown bird with a quick wing beat, flying south. He watched it go. He did not envy it its body. He did not miss his own. The body had carried him through 7 short years, and the years had been bright and hard and full of running. He had loved them. He let them go. The sun moved across the sky. He moved with it without meaning to. The earth turned, and he turned with it. Below him, the rivers branched like the veins of a great leaf, and the mountains rose in their slow blue ranks, and the sea pulled back from the shore and returned, pulled back and returned, breathing. Now he turned westward, toward the high mountains where his teacher lived. He did not know how he knew the way. Perhaps the spirit, freed from the body, remembers the things the heart already knew. Perhaps Taiyi Zhenren was calling him, gently, the way a candle calls a moth, without urgency, without command. Perhaps the path west was simply the path west, and he had always known it. The mountains rose ahead of him, white at their tops, green at their feet, wrapped in a soft scarf of mist. He drifted toward them, as a kite drifts toward a hand that has been holding the string all along. The wind did not push him. The wind was him, and he was the wind, and neither was in any hurry. Far below, the villages grew smaller. The fields became patches of green and gold. The roads became threads. The world he had known shrank to the size of a painting, and the painting was beautiful, and he held no anger toward any part of it. He thought without thinking in words. I am going home now, not to the home I came from, to the next one. And the mountains opened their arms. High in the western mountains, where the clouds rested on the pine tops like sleeping cranes, there was a cave. It was not a grand cave. Its mouth was small, half hidden by a curtain of vines, and inside it smelled of cedar smoke and old paper, and the faint sweetness of medicine herbs hung in bundles from the rafters of stone. This was where Taiyi Zhenren lived. He had lived there for a very long time, long enough that the stones knew his footsteps, long enough that the kettle on his small clay stove knew when he wished it to boil, and boiled without being asked, long enough that the cranes on the cliff outside no longer turned their heads when he stepped into the morning air. On this particular afternoon, Taiyi Zhenren was sitting on a flat cushion at a low wooden table. His robe was the color of river water. His beard was white and soft and reached almost to his lap. His hands were folded around a small cup of tea, and across from him, on the other side of the table, a second cup had already been poured. Steam rose from it in a thin, curling thread. He had been waiting. The vines at the cave mouth stirred, though there was no wind. A soft, brightness drifted in, the brightness a candle makes when carried into a dark room, and it gathered itself slowly into the shape of a small boy, sitting cross-legged on the cushion across from him. Nezha, the shape of him, the spirit of him, looked at the cup of tea. "You knew I was coming," he said. His voice was not quite a voice. It was the memory of a voice. But Taiyi Zhenren heard it as clearly as a bell. "I knew," the Immortal said. "Was it a long time to wait?" "No," said Taiyi Zhenren. "Not long." They sat. The tea steamed. Outside, a crane called once, a single high note, and was answered by another, farther away. The two notes hung in the mountain air and faded. Nezha did not pick up his cup. He could not. He had no hands to lift it with. But Taiyi Zhenren had poured it anyway, because some kindnesses are not about being useful. They are about being offered. "Master," Nezha said, "I'm tired." "I know." I gave it back. All of it. The body, the blood, the bones. I know. There was nothing else I could give. There was nothing else needed. The Immortal lifted his cup, sipped, and set it down. He did not look sorrowful. He did not look pleased. He looked the way the mountain looked, patient, and full of weather and content. "Master," Nezha said, "what happens now?" Taiyi Zhenren smiled. It was a small smile, and it lived mostly in his eyes. "Now," he said, "I make you again." Nezha was quiet. "There is a lotus flower," the Immortal said, "that grows in a pool behind this cave. I planted it long ago, when the world was younger, and it has been waiting, the way I have been waiting. There is also a lotus root, white and clean, the shape of strong bones. I will take the flower and the root. I will lay them in still water. I will sit beside the pool, and I will wait. And in time, the flower will open, and inside the flower there will be a body, and the body will be yours." "How long?" Nezha asked. "Long enough," Taiyi Zhenren said. Nezha thought about this. He thought about his mother's garden, and his father's stones, and the river finding its banks. He thought about the 7 short years of running. He was not in a hurry. He had nowhere to be. "Master," he said, "I don't think I can keep my eyes open." "Then close them," said the Immortal. "Sleep now. I will be here." The shape of the boy softened. The brightness folded itself smaller, smaller, until it was only a small, warm light hovering above the cushion, like a firefly that had found a place to rest. Taiyi Zhenren reached out one old hand and cupped the light gently, the way one might cup a sleeping bird. He carried it out of the cave, into the soft afternoon, toward the pool behind the cliffs, where the lotus had been waiting all this time. The kettle on the stove sighed and went still. The pool behind the cave was small and round, no wider than a courtyard, and so still that the sky lived inside it as clearly as it lived above. Pine trees leaned over its edges. Smooth grey stones rimmed its banks. A single old willow stood at the western side, its long fingers trailing in the water. Taiyi Zhenren walked to the bank with the small, warm light cradled in his palm. He knelt. From the sleeve of his robe, he drew a lotus flower, pink at its tips, pale as moonlight at its heart. From the other sleeve, he drew a length of lotus root, white and ringed and clean, the shape and weight of a young child's bones. He set the flower upon the water. It floated. He laid the root beneath the water. It sank slowly and settled on the soft mud at the pool's bottom. Then he opened his palm, and the small light drifted down, down, and entered the flower, and was gone from sight. The water did not ripple. The flower did not stir. Only a faint glow lingered for a moment beneath its petals, like a lamp behind paper, and then even that grew quiet. Taiyi Genren sat down on a flat stone at the pool's edge. He folded his hands inside his sleeves. He waited. Spring softened into summer. The rains came in slow, gentle drifts, falling on the still water in small, clear circles that opened and overlapped and faded. The lotus flower took the rain and did not move. The pines drank. The willow drank. The frogs sang at dusk and slept at noon. Taiyi Genren sat. The bud beneath the flower's petals began very slowly to form. A thing more felt than seen. A small gathering of light beneath the pink. Summer thickened into autumn. The leaves of the willow yellowed and let go. One and then another, drifting onto the water and resting there like small gold boats. The pines stayed green. A cool wind came down from the higher peaks at evening, smelling of stone and snow. Cranes passed overhead in long, quiet lines. Going south, Taiyi Genren sat. The bud thickened. It was not yet a child. It was the idea of a child, held inside a flower, dreaming of itself. Autumn deepened into winter. The first snow fell at night, so softly that even the pines did not notice. By morning, the world was white. The pool did not freeze. The Immortal would not allow it. But a thin lace of frost rimmed its stones, and the lotus floated on the dark water like a single pink lamp in a field of white. Snow gathered on Taiyi Genren's shoulders and on his beard, and he did not brush it off. He sat. He breathed. The bud grew, slow as the turn of a year. Winter softened into spring. The snow drew back into the mountains. The willow put out small green buds at the tips of its long fingers. The frogs woke and tested their voices. A first warm wind came up from the south, smelling of plum blossom and wet earth. The pool held the new sun in its still face. The lotus flower had grown larger now, its petals fuller, its color deeper, a soft glow at its heart that pulsed once, slowly, the way a sleeping child's chest rises and falls. Taiyi Genren opened his eyes. He had not been asleep. But he had not exactly been awake either. He had been the way the mountain was, present, patient, full of weather. He smiled the small smile that lived mostly in his eyes. Soon, he said, to no one, to the pool, to the flower, to the boy inside it. Very soon. The wind moved across the water. The lotus rocked once, gently, and was still again. Somewhere a crane called, returning from the south. The willow's small green leaves stirred. The world, which had turned a full circle and then turned a little more, leaned forward to watch. The morning came quietly. There was no thunder, no great wind, no voice from the sky, only the soft grey-blue light that comes before sunrise in the mountains, when the air is still cold and the birds have not yet begun, and the world holds its breath for a single long moment before the day arrives. Taiyi Genren was already sitting on his stone at the bank. He had perhaps never left it. The pool was perfectly still. The lotus floated at its center, large now, full now, its outermost petals trembling very faintly, the way a sleeper trembles just before waking. The first edge of the sun touched the eastern peaks. The lotus opened. It did not burst. It did not unfurl in haste. It opened the way a flower opens, petal by petal, in a slow, gentle blooming, each layer falling softly outward to rest upon the water. Pink and pink and pink, and at last the pale gold heart. Inside the flower, a small boy sat up. He was perhaps 7 years old. He had black hair, soft and a little tousled from sleep. His skin was new and warm. His eyes were bright. He blinked once at the morning light, and then he laughed. A small, surprised laugh. The laugh of a child who has just remembered something delightful. And his small hands reached at once, without thinking, for the red silk ribbon coiled gently in his lap. He took it up. He looked at it. He smiled. He was whole. He was new. He was completely himself. Tarja Genren watched from the bank. He did not stand. He did not call out. He did not say, "Welcome back," or "You are safe now," or any of the things a lesser teacher might have said. He only watched, with the small smile that lived mostly in his eyes, and let the boy have the morning to himself. Nezha looked at his hands. He turned them over. He wiggled his fingers. He looked at his feet. He flexed his toes against the soft petals beneath him. He touched his own cheek gently, as if checking. Then he looked up and across the pool and saw his teacher. He did not need to speak. Tarja Genren did not need to speak. Between them, there passed only a single look, and the look held everything. The long waiting, the slow seasons, the gift given and the gift received. And then it passed, and was enough. The boy on the Lotus tilted his head back and looked at the sky. The sun was fully up now. A crane was crossing the blue, slow and white, going somewhere it had always been going. The plum blossoms on the western slope were open. The willow was green. He opened his eyes. The world was new. He was not. And here, gentle listener, is where we leave him. For the rest of his story belongs to other mornings. The lotus pool is still. The petals rest upon the water like small pink boats, going nowhere in no hurry. The old willow trails its fingers. The pines breathe their slow green breath. Somewhere in the high stones, a single drop of melted snow falls from a ledge into a smaller pool below, and the sound it makes is the softest sound in the world. Tarja Genren has not moved. He may not move for a long time. He is the mountain, and the mountain is patient. The cranes pass, the clouds pass. The morning settles into itself like a cat curling on a warm stone. There is nothing left to do. There's nothing left to worry over. The boy who shook the sea is sleeping inside his own new chest, and his heart is beating, slow and easy, the way your heart is beating now. Let the mountain hold him. Let the mountain hold you. The story rests. You may rest too.